activity tonight.
All
Good.
I've
right,
paid them off in
puppies.
cow ears, so here's to hoping that holds. They're very young.
Well, my dog's here too, so maybe they can talk
Oh,
to each
good.
other.
We'll get a shot. Yep.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Michele Hartwig, and I am the host of the Dirt Trail Running Podcast. Plus, I'm the race director of many Midwest trail races like Frozen Gnome, Earth Day, Kettle Moraine 100, Hennepin 100, and quite a few more. And I'm coming to you today from the Ornery Mule Racing Trailhead in Crystal Lake, Illinois. And this is where we work to put all the races together, and we welcome anybody to stop by and visit us anytime. My co-host is Krystal the Pistol.
Hey, everybody. Hope you're staying safe and healthy.
And we are super excited tonight. We are welcoming Robyn LaLonde, and she is from Edge Athlete Lounge and head coach for Nike One. Welcome, Robyn.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Well, thanks for coming. So, how has your day been going today?
Pretty standard. I thought it was Monday for most of the day, so that was good. It's pretty dark today, which I like just from like a COVID side of things. I feel like you can get out and run a little bit more easily. There are less people out. So those days tend to be, at least in my opinion, a little bit more peaceful. So
And it's
I
cooling
think
down a bit.
yeah. I feel like we turned the corner this Saturday. So
Yeah, I
just
felt
hoping.
really fast on my run today because it was like 10 degrees cooler than it has been. And so
You're
all
basically
the
joking.
summer work is coming. So yeah, we want to get to know you. Our audience wants to get to know you. You are doing a lot of really cool things. But first off, we want to kind of start out by talking about your running history and find out when you started running and how this all began.
Yeah. I that's my dog Tank barking in the background. I told you guys they were gonna be crazy.
Good.
And
We
usually
love dogs.
my husband watches them, but he is running right now. So I'm in charge of two very young, vibrant pugs. Here, you wanna come up here? I caught one. This is
All
Duke.
right.
He's the baby.
Hi, Duke.
Aw, hi, Duke.
Oh,
I
this
do
is.
not have athletic dogs at
Oh my
all.
gosh, look at that
Oh,
tongue.
I'm in love.
I'll grab the other
What a
one.
cutie.
Yeah, I don't have athletic running dogs at all. I think they could maybe make it a block, which is, pretty awesome. I grew up actually more as like a ballerina and a swimmer, and then got into running when I was in middle school. And all of a sudden, I kind of realized it's cool that you got to like talk to people during your sport, because you don't really get that much with swimming. And ballet is definitely like an instructor driven experience. Um, so got up, I was way short, 400, 800, nothing crazy. And then, did it really recreationally through college and grad school. And then when I had like a real job, all of a sudden I had kind of more time. And so I kept kind of going longer. And I remember like if I would run like on the lakefront, if I did 1 hour and I did 6 miles in an hour, it was like I had conquered, world peace. And got into longer stuff. I had a coworker tell me about a cotton T-shirt for a half marathon, what is now the Chicago Half Marathon in September. Of course, canceled this year. It used to be the Banco Popular, and I convinced my husband to train for it. And I was like, I'll never do a marathon. Oh my god, I hurt so bad. I was like every part of my joints hurt, and then of course it just snowballed. Like we started doing triathlons and marathons and got into ultras. Really, really, really fell in love with trail pretty quickly. Living in a city, I think it's a really nice balance, and I really love trying to get more women specifically onto trail. So that's 100%. I'm a very transparent person. That's one of my main motivations with Edge, is just getting more women into sports, specifically into the sports where they are less represented. And actually that's how I know you guys, is because we every year we'll bring a lot of people specifically to Ice Age, because it like, sorry, not Ice Age, Earth Day. I always say the wrong thing. And I do the same
That's how
thing
my
to
mouth
Arctic
works
frog
too.
and Arctic frog and frozen gnome. I cannot keep those. I know what they are. I say the wrong thing. So to Earth Day, which is like just such a great race. And like when it happens in the season, it's just so perfectly poised, right? To get people, get their asses out the door when it's cold out, get them moving. And so we typically have people at all distances at that one. Yeah. And we, I guess never really stopped running. So now I'm definitely much more into coaching than I am into racing, which if you would have told the racing version of me that was going to happen, I would not have believed you, but it's pretty cool to effectuate change and, 100, 200 people versus, one. So that is, that is my history with running in a nutshell.
I love that you're trying to get more women out running. And I think that women sometimes can feel uncomfortable. They get nervous out on the trail. What advice do you have for women for that?
I think a lot of times, and this is at least like my female marathoners that I talk to, I'm like, well, why wouldn't you do a 50K? And they, a lot of times will be like, well, it's, I don't want to, like you said, like, I don't want to like necessarily be alone, or they think it's the marathon road mentality, but for 31 miles. And I'm like, whoa, 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 pump the brakes. It's still competitive, but it's extremely supportive because you are in the elements. And also, I love just handing over control kind of to the terrain, especially if it's something tricky, like Earth Day Trail is not an easy trail. Like there are parts you can fly, but there are parts you're going to be walking up, right? Or you're going to be clinging to a tree coming down. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that there's something telling me how to race in the moment. I think that becomes a little bit more disarming to them. And then I also talk a lot about that gender gap closing, because I think it's so cool that, that second leg of that second chromosome, that last little part that makes it an X, not a Y, right, allows us to like do crazy things like bear children. But then also from an endurance standpoint, it really allows us to go past that marathon threshold and start closing that gap. And we're seeing that more and more and more. And that just shows us that we're honestly built for it.
I agree. I think that women get better, definitely get better the longer the distance is. I know plenty of times where I've been running and a guy's like, I'm just going to follow you because I know I'll go out too fast. And women are, and they're not saying it. I said that in like a negative way. I'm just going to follow you. But they're like, women will pace themselves better and they can stay longer. So they like to, they can definitely learn from us.
We do absolutely have that kind of like, not divide, but like they will absolutely kind of tuck behind just to make sure that they're honest in the front half. And I really like chasing guys down in the back half of races. Sorry, that may not be PC, but like it's really fun. And again, like I want them to come with me. I want you to push me in the last 10 miles, like get on my back, and then I'm going to be chasing your back, and let's hopscotch and work together. There's a lot of beauty in that, especially in like the last quarter of a race where everybody's suffering the most.
Yeah, that's really fun. Yeah, you talked about coaching, and so you coach at Edge Athlete Lounge. Can you tell us, what that is? I don't know if everybody knows. It looks amazing.
Yeah, we are. Well, of course, we look a little different now during COVID, but we're basically a gym, that has a healthy dose of endurance athletes as well as a ton of strength programming and recovery tools. We're just north of downtown, so we're like North Avenue and the highway. We're 6 years old. We were really created for athletes by athletes. Like it's kind of our job. We want to try to make stronger athletes that become better people, right? I just completely redid our vision statement. I made it shorter for you, but that's the whole idea. It's like, if you make someone a stronger athlete, you ultimately can, combat the rest of life as best as possible. And if we can do that through, providing strength programming, run and triathlon programming and recovery, and pairing those things together under one roof, then you're a lot more likely to tackle your goals. Those goals this year look a little different. They're a lot more kind of self-driven by people versus race-driven. But it's working, and they're certainly working together. I'm head coach there, but I coach a lot of kind of personal athletes, through Edge. which is great because I can see them. Like I'm coaching tomorrow morning at 5, and I think I have like 6 or 7 of my own athletes in my class. So it's really nice to physically be able to see them. But we have, I think, 27 strength classes now a week and 2 to 3 run and bike sessions. And those are all other coaches that coach those. So we've got a team of 10. And they're really the reason that kind of we're able to be where we are today. And then also the fact that we're not completely losing our minds, because it is all teamwork at this point.
It looks absolutely gorgeous. If anybody listening, I mean, there's like this cool wood and leather. Well, I don't know if they're leather chairs, but like these big comfy chairs for people to sit on. And it kind of reminds me of like a cool bar or coffee shop to be hanging out after a hard workout. Where are you located at?
We're at 1747 North Elston. So it's basically North Avenue in 1994. So it's pretty easy to get through to kind of from any side, just because we did that on purpose right by the highway. And then we're actually really close to the 606 as well. So we'll have a lot of people kind of run over and use that as an artery to get to us.
Oh, I love the 606.
Nice.
Really cool. How did the vision of Edge come from?
Yeah, my husband and I were training for long stuff, and we kind of thought, again, like that was our first real experience too, like training with a group. We kind of thought we'd get sick of them. We didn't. We like opposite happened. Like we kind of fell in love with who we were training with. And at the end of, 7-8 hour days, we were going out for like beers and eating burgers. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we were always sort of like, there's probably a better way to do this. Like once you're done, like riding this high and respecting that fitness deposit. So we had the idea to have some recovery and it kind of an all under one roof endurance hub. And we actually, that was right when we got into ultras and we were training for our first 100K. And we had like a spot, like maybe the size of like a couch dedicated to recovery, like in our proposed, we didn't have space yet, but like what we were dreaming of. And we were doing ice baths and using e-stim and compression boots at home because we're like, well, we might as well test the equipment out, right? Like make sure it works. And we were going to do like marathons for training days, and we were PRing marathons, and like we weren't sore. We have all these stairs in our house. We were going up the stairs and like not feeling tired. And we were like, what is going on? And then it was like, you idiots, the recovery works. So we really kind of scrapped it and made half the space dedicated to recovery. And that's, I think, really set the tone from a community standpoint unintentionally. We're very like numbers driven and data driven, but that really allowed us to be kind of community first because it's the focal point. So that we kind of fell into that like idiots. And then after a couple years, our strength programming actually kind of really picked up. And as did our run and triathlon programs. And we actually doubled our space. So the new part, which we call the annex, is 3,000 square feet, 3,500 with our loading dock, which thank God for that, because that's what we use for classes right now, because it's all outside. And that's all for training. So we have a heavy weight training room along with a giant turf room with oodles of equipment.
So how do people find you to sign up for classes and get involved?
Yeah, I think for me, like, I feel like I spend a lot of time on our Instagram. So I'm always like, that's always going to be the best place to check for updates. Cause I feel like we're post at least, well, definitely daily to the story and almost daily to our main stuff. So you can always DM us there. From website, just edgeathletelounge.com. If like a little bubble pops up and you put your info in, we are in contact within 24 hours. Otherwise, people, I mean, honestly, we'll do programs. Like if you know people that are members, like ask them and they can get you in. Like we just did a whole week of BYOP, which was BYO Peep. And we had, I think somewhere around 20 people brought like their Peep, right? Their boyfriend or their roommate. And it was just really great new energy. So we love it when people bring in their people because it means that they trust us with them. Especially now, that just really means so much because I feel like we're doing everything we can possibly do from a COVID and safety standpoint while still trying to grow athletes.
I noticed like on the wall, you got like bike tires and stuff. Do you typically train triathletes or like what are the athletes like that work out there?
Yeah, it's a good question. We started off really heavy with triathletes and runners, and some cyclists. My husband has a cycling background, so that was where the wheels came from. Those are actually, we bought them. They were ones that they were going to scrap from Westtown Bikes, which is a local nonprofit that works with underserved kids. And gets them training on kind of bike mechanic stuff. And they were like, we'll save a bunch of them for you. Cause of course I found something on Pinterest to throw on the wall, and then my husband had to build it. So that's where that came from. So that was really our focus heavy when we started. Once I started up with Nike, of course, that's a run focus, and it was a new run program. So we got pretty runner heavy pretty fast. And then once we opened up the aperture for our classes, I would say at least a third, if not a little bit more than a third of our members are just straight up. They just want strength programming. Maybe they're on like a body comp challenge. And they're more of like that general fitness, which frankly, like I give so much credit to, because if I don't have a race, I'm not motivated. And these people are such self-starters. It's awesome. So it's actually a really big blend. It's way more blended than we've ever been. And I think that it's pretty cool because, when you have a class, it is like you literally can take like a deck of cards and like shuffle them together and have someone in it that is, trying to lose 50 pounds next to someone else that's chasing down their 5th Ironman, and they're the same athlete, right? We have like no ego in our space. If you walk in, it's assumed you're an athlete. And then also the fact that everybody's equal.
That's great. And
That's awesome.
everybody can inspire one another and go and learn new ideas of fun stuff to work towards.
And that's like what motivates people too. Like that's the coolest thing in the world, where like just when we opened, we went through the first Chicago Marathon cycle, which we opened in August, and that was in October. This was even before working for Nike. And, I remember sitting and just like watching post-marathon people use the space and how do they use it, and what are the discussions they're having. And there were 2 athletes sitting next to each other. They'd completed a marathon. It was, Sunday. And they were talking about it. And one of them was a 2:35 marathoner, and the other one was a 5-hour marathoner. And I knew both these athletes individually, and they, just started talking because they were sitting next to each other. And they were talking about it, and it was literally the same race for both of them. And the 2:35 marathoner, when she asked, the other marathoner, like, what was your time? She was so floored. And she's like, that is the most incredible thing that I could ever think of. Like, I would die if I was moving for that long. That is like, you're incredible. And I definitely was sleep deprived. So I teared up a little bit. And my husband's like, are you okay? And I'm like, it's working. But it was one of those moments of like, if you create something and have, that rooted that everyone is the same, and that everyone, has someone looking up to them, that it just starts to happen. And those are the moments that I live for. And it makes me want to be a better athlete too. Like, I'll make bets with them. Like, okay, we're going to move every day for 30 days. Let's go. And, texting with them and making sure that they're staying on their part of it. And we're all just trying to be better, especially now.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love that. I'm interested in the Nike coaching too. Can you tell us what that involves?
Yeah. So it started off as when Nike Run Club launched kind of globally. It launched in 5 major cities in North America first. And so we were one of those first 5. And I, unbeknownst to me, had someone from Nike in an audience where I gave a talk. And then they were like, hey, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not qualified for this, but I will definitely take you up on it. And they were really great. And honestly, it's the best growth I've ever had as a coach ever. I mean, they flew me around to a bunch of different cities to train with other coaches, because I was, we were like one of the first ones to go. So it's like, let's train her up. And it was like super steep learning curve, not only on like brand stuff, but also just being exposed to other coaches. You learn so much, and so many of them are so well established in their communities. I've been doing it for years and years, at various different levels. And that was just, I mean, invaluable is too light of a word. So in Chicago, we used to do pretty big like live sessions for Nike Plus Run Club, and now it's just called Nike Running, so it's even easier. And those eventually turned into more like app-based, because that's obviously more scalable. But then that allowed Edge to kind of step up along with other kind of local groups and be like, okay, well, we'll do, marathon training and half marathon training. So we're on a little more than 3 years of continuous year-round run programming. So like our runners are wrapping up probably right about now with their tempo run on Tuesday nights. they get together and self-start at 6 a.m. on Thursdays for speed. And then on Saturday, long runs at 6 a.m. Right now, it goes a little later in summer, but yeah, it's kind of morphed that way, which is cool. And then on the kind of other side of Nike, about a little over a year ago, so like 14 months ago, they launched the Windrunners, which is something I'm, again, certain I'm not qualified for, but very proud to be a part of. And that is the first female sub-elite racing team pretty much of its kind. And so, they looked at it again, getting back to getting women and keeping women really is the problem, is that we'll grow women into stronger runners in the Midwest, and then they'll go and freaking move to the coast, or they'll move to Colorado where they, can have a training group. So they're like, no, let's keep them here, with the higher goal of having them be really stewards in the community. And, when we look at, organizations like Chicago Run and Girls on the Run, they're saying a lot of the time girls are twice as likely to drop out of sport before boys before the age of 13. And they're like, well, what's the point? Like, what am I going to do with running? But these women can step up and go into, serve as mentors and speak at schools and frankly get some publicity of like, no, this is what you can grow up to be. Like, I have a full-time job, but I'm a sub-elite runner, working my ass off, probably not say ass to kids, but working my tail off, to be a better athlete and to be a better teammate. And they have also, like, super cool, everything's locked down, of course, but they have safely kind of gotten together, and they're now launched. They've done one race series, and then they're about to announce their second, where they're trying to really shuffle and integrate all of the running groups in Chicago and elevate Black and brown led run clubs. And they're calling it One Chicago. And it's seriously cool. Like, the first one they put on, I was like, it's so homegrown. Like, it doesn't even cost that much to put on. And it's like self-timed and it's super well organized, way under 50 people. So following all guidelines, everybody's masked, but it felt really right. And I'm really proud of the team. We practice on Thursday morning. So if you follow Windrunner Shy on Instagram, you can always drop into theirs, as long as it says it's an open practice. You just have to fill out the questionnaire, and that's brand new.
Oh, that's amazing. So
That's really
what was
cool.
the Instagram page?
I always forget if it's Shy Windrunners or Windrunner Shy. So let me look. Yeah, and they'll, again, as long as our regulations don't change, we'll keep that. It's got to be Windrunner Shy. Yep, Windrunner Shy. So
Okay.
plural and then CHI.
Okay, I'll definitely be following them. Well, you had your adorable pug there, and I hear that you may do more with some pug rescue, or a race with a pug. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, polar pug and flying pug. Yeah, we used to back in the old days. So we had, it came up as like a joke of like, what would you name a short trail race? And they were like, oh, flying pug, because it's like flying pig, but it's flying pug. So we put that on like every fall and spring, and it's like, like a 4 to 5 mile race, and more like a run, right? Nothing to the scale that you guys do. We're talking like, under 50 people. But just to get people onto trail and get excited. Then we came up with an idea last year to create a track and trail program. So, just getting people out onto trail. It would be tough for us to do it right now just because we have a heavy carpool, and obviously we can't do that right now. But it's on our radar for how we could. So last fall, we trained both concurrently for F3, and then we also put on a 10K half marathon in February, which we called Polar Pug. And that one, it was really cold. I know you have experience in that, but we had 100% attendance, which was super cool. And to that one, I think it was like 63% female, which is like unheard of for a trail. And then also over half of them were first-time trail runners. That was their very first trail run. So we were we were really, really proud of that. And it also just like, it really meant a lot. Our senior pug June had passed like just days before the race, and it was kind of out of nowhere. And, like our race director got everybody to put, like a dart, she was definitely a pink girl. So like a little pink ribbon on everybody's bib. And it was just very heartfelt. It was awesome. But we really hope to get back to that. We have great names. Okay. So if we thought about this, we should get your opinion on this. So of course, we're always going to be collaborators, not competitors, because we're small fries compared to you guys. but we were like, oh, there should be a shorter distance than 10K. So we were thinking about doing something, you know, about 3 miles, and totally not tell people how long it is, because that's why it's trail. But we would call that Pipsqueak, because that was our nickname for June. Uh, and then Tank, who is now the big brother, but at that time he was a little brother. He is really fat. I'll get him in a little bit. He's stuck under the couch. And we would call it meatball, or middle meatball. That would be like 5 to 6 mile range. And then Bruce, he wasn't huge, but he was taller, and we always called him Big Boy. So that's what we would call our double digit. So it'd be Pipsqueak, Meatball, and Big Boy. I just thought it'd be so funny. I'm like, oh, what distance you doing? Oh, Pipsqueak.
That's hilarious. I love that. I love it.
Are they going to be on the t-shirt? I want that t-shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, we
do.
like you said, your first half marathon, a cotton t-shirt, man. Let's train.
Yeah, especially if you got a bug on it, for sure. And then we gave a portion of the proceeds back to Northern Illinois Pug Rescue, which, you know, like you always just want to have it to have a purpose. We just did a 5K last weekend that kicked off our Road Less Traveled series. 100% of those proceeds go to Black and Brown Red Lung Club. So we're pretty pumped, because I think we're like over $11,000 raised right now. So like, people want to be a part of something, for sure.
So tell us about Black and Red Run Club.
Yeah, so they Black and Brown. I said it too fast. And Brown Run Club. So it's just run clubs in the city. You know, that like Chicago is still super segregated in the city in terms of like where you run really dictates like how, you know, your group. And because we're such a red line city, it's like your run groups are either like all white or they're all black and brown. Like, it's true. And we all totally like get along. It's just, you're not necessarily going to drive, you know, somewhere else to go and train. Although now it's happening more and more. So yeah, I got together with Gumbo Fit, which they're a black red run club out of Hyde Park area. And I was like, hey, you know, marathon's going to be canceled, right? She's like, yeah, I know, it sucks. I'm like, our runners need something. Like, our charity runners still want to raise, you know, like, what do you think about collaborating and doing a marathon? And then we can like give all of the money back to groups that, you know, need a little bit of boost, like whether it's to like, you know, buy running shoes or, you know, further their brand or, you know, attract new runners. Like, that would be awesome. And then of course it snowballed into a series. So we just had our first one on Saturday, which we had such good weather. So, you know, the rest of the weather is going to be just garbage. Fine. We can survive that, but that's how it works. And then we have a half on 9/26 and a full on 10/11, and they're all sold out with not a super deep wait list. They might get in, but a substantial wait list. And we also included an option at all of the races where athletes could register for themselves and then pay it forward for an athlete, like, you know, in another group to have a spot prepaid for them. And that's been super, super cool, because it just completely removes the barrier to entry. It's like, oh yeah, okay, there's a spot paid for me. Like, awesome, I'm in. So we feel it's one of the things that right now, especially as a small business owner, when it feels like everything's falling apart every day, it's like the thing that feels like it's going right and that you're making a direct impact. And like, I've learned a lot. We do a series about sport and advocacy, and like, we do not need to be giving people money and telling them how to use it. We just need to be giving people funds and say, you do what you need to do with this, and this is how much we can attribute. And I think there's a lot of power in that. Like, those groups know what they need. I don't need to tell them what they need. I don't need to give them shoes. I need to give them money.
Oh, that's really super sweet.
That's amazing.
So yeah, Krystal's a teacher, and you were talking about the wind runners. They do some speaking engagements, like because I'm really interested in inspiring other women. How do you get connected with them for those speaking engagements?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really depends on kind of how they're collaborating in that season. So we had one season where they served as mentors to specific girls for an entire semester. And then they ended up racing the girls 5K with them. So, you know, they were like side by side through the finish line. And I think it was like 2 or 3 meetups that they did with them throughout the season. They'll also do things like there was this really amazing Nike girls camp that I think it was like a 2-week camp. And we would do drop-in sessions where they would go and help, you know, like not only like manage these big groups of girls in the summer, but also, you know, like talking to them and asking them about, you know, what kind of sports they want to do and why they want to do it. those types of formats have probably been the biggest like exposure for them. But then also we have 3 girls on the team that are teachers or educators. And so, and one of them is actually a cross country coach at another high school. So when their girls have meets or anything, they'll do like video good lucks for them. And they'll send us a video of the girls watching the videos and they like freak out. Right. Cause I mean, they're fast, they're fast, badass women. I mean, like I can barely keep up for a warm up. But they're also extremely approachable, which I think is just exceedingly important. And then even one of the women, Veronica on the team, she has a teenage daughter. I think she just turned 13, and she comes to the practices. Like, and it's just, that's the coolest part is, you know, you can always be a part of something if you're able to have some type of a, you know, like a platform. And that's really what Win Runners does. And it's super, super cool. And it's still so new. It's like barely 2 years old. So it just keeps kind of morphing.
That's great. Yeah, Krystal started up. You had a little run club from your school with the girls.
I tried and it just, didn't exactly pan out. I'm trying again though with our sports canceled. I'm trying to get a little cross country group of girls together. So here's hoping. Keep trying.
It's hard. It's super hard. And like, again, like right now we're having to do things, right? Like, and trying to communicate to people that you have to register. Normally you can just show up, but you have to register. We're going to have to scan you. You're going to have to wear a mask, right? Those are all barriers, but the more that you make it normative, then the more people show up. And also, so all of your cross country and everything is canceled?
Yeah, we're hoping in the spring we'll be able to do some sports, but for right now, fall and winter sports are canceled.
Got it. Yeah, it's hard to keep people moving. It is.
Yeah.
Get them at least maybe watching some documentaries, getting fired up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, well, with COVID, like, how did you guys adjust at Edge to that?
It was like everything pivoted, you know, it's like pivot again. Our biggest thing was just going virtual. Like we actually started to go virtual before we knew we were going to shut down, just because we're like, oh, yeah, this looks this way. And we, at the time, were sending about an email out a week to all of our members. And when we sent the one out about, hey, we're going to test out this virtual format, we got like, it's like the most response we've ever gotten of like, thank you so much. Like now I don't have to choose between like the safety of my family and getting my, and it was like light bulb for us because we didn't realize how uncomfortable people felt just being out and about. There was so much uncertainty. It wasn't anything we were doing. It was just the way of the world. And we underestimated the severity that was really presenting to people in their decision making of getting their workout in. So we pivoted 100% virtual. We closed before we were told to by about 2 to 3 days. Still the right, you know, it was just, it felt wrong. And I'm like, I'd rather close and do the right thing than stay open and feel weird about it, because that's just not right. So yeah, we did 100% virtual flip over. Obviously our like facility was closed. And then just did, you know, virtual happy hours and offered coaches corners where all of our coaches rotated 1 to 2 times a week with different subjects and people could, you know, jump on Zoom. We even tried like audio led live speed runs, which it was a cool idea, little hard to execute. And I also think people at that point were just really tired of calling into things and, you know, being remote. But now, I mean, we're back open. We have all of our classes happening live in person. You can be inside with a mask, of course, at distance, outside without a mask, or live. So we've got a big screen with all the Zoom people. So a coach is coaching kind of both at once, which is awesome.
Yeah, I was looking at a video or picture. It looks like you have an outside place for people to all set up.
Yeah, we got a loading dock, which like we always kind of like bitched about having to pay rent on, and now we're like, oh, we need that. Yeah, I'm glad we have it. So yeah, it's all taped off. Like people show up with a mask. We always say you gotta have a mask and a mat when you come. And we have mats, of course, but we cannot clean everything in the world. So you have to touch your own mat. So you bring with a mask and a mat, and then you keep the mask on as you come in and grab your equipment. And then you set up and you can take it off. If you're outside and keep the 6 feet, you can keep it off. And then you put it on to reload. And we clean every single piece of equipment, every single class. So we've got an awesome sprayer that's very fun to use. Yeah, and that honestly, it feels safe. It really does. And I mean, the cleaning protocols on the coaching side, it's like for a half-hour class, it's about an hour and 5 minutes worth of work with cleaning. So we feel good about it, and it'll, I'm sure, morph again when we go inside. And I think we're gonna have to do some serious rearranging of our facility. But we'll always kind of do what we need to do to keep everyone safe. And even if it's at the cost of our own business, like it's not worth it for us to put anybody at risk.
Yeah, we're in a temporary situation now, and we just need to all work together to get healthy.
And everyone's expectations are so low. I mean, I'm always like, you guys are working out outside in the sun, sometimes with the mask on, so people elect to, right? And you can only use dumbbells. And they're like, this is amazing. I'm like, all right. I'm like, okay. Or like even like the 5K this weekend. I mean, we put up a shit ton of like flags and cones just to, like create a tunnel, but we are still in the middle of a prairie. Like it is definitely not a finish. But people were like afterward, like that's all they wanted to do is take a picture at the finish line. And like pinning a bib on. I mean, it's like I was handing out gold. And it becomes part of who we are. So when we get it back in any capacity, I think there's just a level of gratitude, which I think it's just lovely, because I think sometimes our sports can get a little entitled, and that's a super hot button for me. So to bring it back to the basics is extremely refreshing, and it's on my end, it's just so fulfilling. It's like, getting back to doing that and doing some good in our community, and moving the line on equality is it's the most important work we could be doing.
So you've transitioned. Well, you've taken your passion for moving, being an athlete, everything, to coaching, and it had to have felt small at one point. Do you remember your first athlete that really made you fall in love with being a coach, or the first experience of like how fulfilling that was? Can you take us back to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I had a few of them when I was just getting started, because I was working with a lot of like coworkers that hadn't really like known what they were kind of capable of. And then I would say there was a little dark zone, a dark area, dark phase when we were building out and just hemorrhaging money. We're self-funded, so it was just ridiculous. I mean, it's very similar to right now where you're just like free ball. And I still like always like was the coach and the coach. And I have a woman named Sue, and I tell her this all the time. I'm like, you're my favorite. I tell everyone else that she's my favorite too. And she never saw herself as like, a distance runner, never saw herself as a half and full Ironman. And she just kept kind of, going longer. And there is a picture of her at Muncie 70.3. And she is a solemn woman. She is like, she will tell you straight up like what it is. She is not flowery. She's serious, and she's a hard worker, and she puts her head down. And this picture of her at Muncie, she knew that she had to do a certain race and feel a certain way to feel good going into her first Ironman. And she nailed it. And she is going across the finish line with this you don't even know who it is. Her grin is so big. And like that for me, I was like, yes. And so I have like a file on my desktop of like, if I have a hard day, I just go through the pictures, and it's like, this is why you do it. This is why you do it. And hers is always the first one that comes up. And it was several years into coaching, but for me, it's the most vivid, because I think that she was the one that didn't see herself any differently until that moment. And I know I had that moment at my first Ironman where I ran literally past the person I thought I was. And it took a hell of a good coach to kind of get me to that point. And I never really thought about what would happen if I could get someone else to that point. But now it's like, the thing that we all chase. And also, she's gone on to inspire other people, right? Like if it can grow legs, that's kind of the whole point of this whole thing, right? It's not just about racing. It's about actually inspiring everyone else around you to follow suit and be confident enough to know that people are looking up to you. I think a lot of people, especially when you do work with faster end athletes, a lot of people that aren't so naturally speedy will think of their feats as less. And I'm like, I call bullshit on that, because you have so many people looking up to you if you put your ass on the line and do hard things. And it's your job, it's your duty to recognize that and then turn around and figure out who you can inspire that is looking up to what you're doing, and tell them that you believe in them.
Yeah, you gave me chills on that. I'm right there with you. So for somebody listening that doesn't see themselves as an athlete and is looking for something more out of life, they want to be healthier, what would you tell them?
I would say keep it simple to start, and just like move every day. And then on the scarier end, I would say we've all watched something on TV or something live that it's like, holy hell, what is that? And then there's like a tiny voice that's like, I kind of want that. Like, you have to be open to that whisper, and it's scary as hell, but be open to that whisper, and then figure out what the first few steps are to get there. Every single person that they look up to, or that, they've thought about, has hesitated with hearing that whisper, but there's so much courage and thinking of like, what is that? And then starting to chase it down. And it, it can be your first, running a mile continuously, it can be running your first 100 mile or whatever it is, but as an adult, especially, like, we pay to do this. This is elective suffering that we pay for in the pursuit of chasing hard things, so that we can be better armed to navigate life and all of its bullshit. So, like, you better arm yourself and chase some hard things. So listening to that whisper is, for me, the biggest thing. But keeping it simple, just get out the door. Just go.
Just move.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have
I
any?
to tell myself the same thing.
What's that?
I have to talk to myself the same way. It's not like just athletes. It's like, no, this is self-talk too.
I was thinking about your pugs. I think that they're recovery pugs. That's why they're not great athletes. Their job is to snuggle with you.
They're just weights. I should get Tank if he comes back over here. He's huge. No, they do it. We put them on top of the boots, and then we joke that, like, if you PR, if you have a good like run or a good strength session after that, it's because of the added compression. I always say I'll put it in your account, that it's free. That part's free.
Do you have anything else at Edge that you want to share about?
No, I just say a shout out to our team. I mean, I can't, I started it and I was the only person there, open to close. And definitely that I would not opt for that again. I don't think that's a good recipe. And as we built out both our tech staff, which helps to manage the actual facility, to our coaching staff, to our, admins. I mean, like, you just can't do it alone, and it's so much more gratifying to do it alongside people, and especially now, like, to see the level of care that they have for each other. And I mean, for Brian and I mean, they're obviously concerned, and they give an F. And I think that having that 20 plus people that can effectuate change is a lot more powerful than one or two. And so I'm just eternally grateful for them. And that really is the reason for how you can build a community, is having a team kind of around you that makes everybody rise up. So build your team if you're thinking about opening something.
Well, it's very obvious that you and your team pour your heart into the community, and you're successful because you care and you're part of it. So,
the good piece.
Yes. So we always end our show with the Ornery Mule Stubborn 5. So you can answer these answers as stubbornly as you would like. So here we go. Number 1, what is the longest race you've ever completed?
100K.
Which 100K was that?
Javelina.
Oh,
and I'm not good in heat. I'm not good in heat. It was 115. So,
Yeah, I've done that race. It literally feels like your head is baking out there.
Yeah, you're like on the side of like saguaro cacti, like just hoping for a sliver of shade. But they have popsicles.
Oh yeah, they're amazing. Their aid stations are fun. What year did you do it?
Oh my God, 2012.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. It was right before we started build out.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. You should go back. They've gotten much bigger since 2012.
I know. And they're still actually having races, which is pretty cool too.
Yeah, it's the Mongolian Monster. One of the
Yeah.
races is happening. What was your first pair of running shoes?
I don't know. It's got to be some old ass Asics. I mean, that's a long time ago, but I think like I went to a local running store called Body and Soul, and here I can do this with Tank because I'm getting brought him. This is Tank.
Oh, hi,
Oh, hi, Tank.
He's like, my dad's gonna give me dinner. They were really heavy on Asics, and I don't, maybe it was just the time, but maybe they're just like really great shoes at the time. I'm not sure, but I could almost guarantee it was a pair of Asics because that's like what all of my teammates had.
Yeah.
Definitely with some like blue shiny on there somewhere.
Yep.
We've all had a pair of Asics.
He would wear Nike now. Yeah. Yeah. Tank.
Oh my gosh, I am in love with Tank. So cute. What's an upcoming challenge you are looking forward to?
Ooh, I would say honestly, probably the half and the full. Pulling those off kind of as seamlessly as the 5K, or doing even better than the 5K. I mean, I think that we did well, but like I want to have even more good mojo. So we've got plans.
We have a question that came in. Let's see here.
Oh boy.
Where is this? Can you point to it, to Lauro? Who would win a race between Tank and Duke?
Oh, Brian.
I think Tank. Still.
I don't know about that. I think it depends on what the prize is. Like, I think if it's food related, I mean, they're both food driven, but like Tank is like really food driven. So if it was really smelling like bacon, I think Tank would win. But if it was just straight on like having fun and running in a straight line, probably Duke.
Okay. That's a good even answer. Neither one will be upset that you
I think Duke eventually, I mean, Duke's a baby, so I think Duke's eventually going to be faster, but he's not quite there yet.
And then Alex Locke says hello to you.
Oh, hey, Alex. He was on. It's stuff I can't see. One of my super talented runners. He's going to slay his next marathon with big hair now, too. Got COVID hair. It's fast.
Yeah, I got COVID hair, too. I am dying to get my hair cut. But good thing for hats. You can get away with it a lot longer. So who's the next one's number 4. Who was the biggest influence in your life?
I would say that same coach, like through that first Ironman and Ultra Cycle, Keith Klabaha, he's who told me I should think about coaching because I was naturally kind of coaching people on my own. But he definitely taught me that to be a good coach, you have to believe in athletes more than they believe in themselves. And I try to take that as a part of my coaching philosophy always. And I mean, without him, there would really be no edge or coaching, or probably because he gave me that little, I had the voice, but he gave me the push, and he's really good at pushing.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad that you're a coach. I can completely see that you're changing lives and making things better.
I think it's funny that you commented that I was sweet, because I think all my athletes watching are like, oh, what word I would use.
Well, I understand that.
I don't think what word would come to mind. What word would come to mind with coaching, my coaching? No, he said cha-cha. That's what I call people when they're doing bad things.
Yeah, I worked with Bill Jensen, and he'd be like, "What's wrong? You haven't swore yet during this." So like, he wanted to get me swearing at him because then he knew he was doing a good job. So
yeah, if I get really irate or start cussing, then you know that. Or I know if I'm in a class or if I'm coaching like a speed run and they stop looking me in the eye, like if I'm asking them a question, they're like this, or if I get eye rolls, I'm like, go on, give me the eye roll. Like my first class back in person, I got an eye roll and I like almost cried. I stopped laughing, like Lisa gave me eye rolls, and then she can't even be mad.
Oh my gosh. Speed work is so horrible and so awesome to be done with.
That's funny.
That's always speed work's my favorite, actually, because it's just terrible while you're doing it, and then you're like, damn, I nailed that. I did that.
Yeah, we're seeing tracks are really busy in the city, like in a safe way, but it's pretty cool to see how many people want to actually like throw down a little speed and see what they can do.
Yeah, that's great. So number 5, favorite treat for a job well done.
Definitely pickle.
Oh yeah, pickle. So sweet or dill?
Definitely dill. Sweets,
Dill.
they should get thrown out. We had an incident right on this fridge over here where I opened it up after a run and I got all excited because we had a new thing of pickles. This was like 2 weeks ago. And I got so excited and I took a bite and it was a bread and butter. I just not that I even hate them that much. It's just, it's not what I thought. And I was like, this is just evil. Someone did this to punk me. It was a mistake.
Well, that's
definitely dill.
Perfect ultra food. Dill pickles all the way.
For sure.
Do you do the juice? Drink the pickle juice?
Oh yeah.
Is
that a
juice.
good? Oh, I was like, that's a good. Krystal the Pistol approved.
Oh, I love the juice.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I love anything vinegar and salty, just in general. I'm a total salt whore, not a sugar whore. So, I mean, 100% drink the juice. Yeah.
Well, great. Well, thank you so much, Robyn. Is there anything that you wanted to share that we didn't go over? Just, I'll ask you one more time.
No, I would say, follow us. Our Instagrams are Edge Athlete Lounge. Mine is coach.robyn. It's with a Y. You can find the woman that has my handle without the dot and get her to give it to me. Please do. She hasn't posted in like 4 years. And then the other one is Pug Covery. So it's like recovery, but Pug Covery. And they're super, super fun. And if you need online, it's just Edge Athlete Lounge, just oneathlete.com. And always feel free to DM. Like, I love it when you guys pepper me with questions, and like, those are my favorites. So have at it. Keep the questions coming, and I'm going to keep sending good mojo to you guys that you can get some races going, because people need them. And I tell you, it's your types of races that are going to be the first to come back, and it's going to get people onto trail. Specifically, ladies, get your ass onto trail.
Yeah.
I mean, because trail races are smaller, so we will be the first to come back. Yeah, Frozen Gnome, we are putting in, but we can only have 100 runners.
Is it open for registration?
No, I'm going to wait till the last minute. I'm tired of opening registration, selling a race out, and then having to cancel a race. Yeah. But we normally have almost 500 runners, so only 100 runners is going to be really hard.
Well, I will gladly sign up for a spot if I can get one.
Okay. And then Earth Day next. But yeah, they're definitely smaller than, like the marathons and stuff are all going to be hard because those are huge, and trail races are just naturally smaller. You can't fit 20,000 people onto a trail.
Yep. So at least we'll get those cracking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, good. Well, we look forward to having you out here in Crystal Lake. Hopefully maybe Kettle or Hennepin 100 one of these years. We got Midwest States coming up next year, a new race for us up in Wisconsin. In Shigwamagan National Forest.
Well said.
So
I'll definitely keep that out, and then like we'll just keep pushing people to trail to you, because that's where we want people to go anyway.
And lots of women. Yeah, our races typically have 50 to 60% women signed up.
That's unheard of. You're doing God's work.
Well, I mean, I think they feel comfortable because I'm a woman and I speak that way. So they just are possibly drawn to it, and it's fantastic to see. I remember when I first started doing races, and I would be so excited if there was another woman that was in the race. There would be like 10 and then like 50 guys.
And now look what you've done. So, now it's 50%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Really super exciting. But yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Duke.
I got him back. Awesome. Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah, and thanks Ryan and my son Royal right over here. And we'll be coming out to visit.
Yeah, do it, and bring your swimsuit so we can do ice bath.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, this is coming too. Oh my God, you can go live. That would be so fun. Let's do it.
Okay, sounds great. We're on. It's a date.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.